Every month, I check our Science of People website analytics. This past month, as I settled in with my cup of coffee to peruse our latest numbers, I stumbled upon an interesting little finding. While scrolling through our top search terms, these are the words people search for to get to the Science of People website, I found this phrase was at the top of the list: how to be interesting. This intrigued me because interesting is not a word I often hear people use. We get emails all the time from our readers saying things like, I want to be more memorable. I want to be more charismatic. I want to be more impressive, more powerful, more attractive, more successful. But I almost never hear, I want to be more interesting. It's as if being more interesting is a secret wish, just reserved for the privacy of our search engines. Well, no worries. Here's the good news. You are interesting. We just have to learn how to activate it and share it. First, most of us are having a crisis of interestingness. Yes, a full-blown crisis. A crisis of interesting happens when you begin to doubt yourself, your likability, and what people think of you. Here's the problem. Your fear of being uninteresting makes you uninteresting. If you're worried you're not interesting, your fear prevents you from trying interesting things, talking about interesting topics, and engaging with interesting people. If you worry you're not interesting, every interaction is almost like an apology, where you're asking for people to write you off. How to be interesting. Basically, your fear is blocking you from being interesting. Unfortunately, the crisis of interesting makes us less memorable, less charismatic, less impressive, less powerful, less attractive, and less successful. But guess what? You are in direct control of how interesting you are. Interestingness and laziness are inversely proportional. I call this the lazy law. The lazy law states, the lazier you are, the less interesting you will be. And the less lazy you are, the more interesting you will be. How to be interesting. Laziness is the real culprit of the interesting crisis. Lazy people are lazy in conversation. For example, here's what it's like talking to an uninteresting person. So, what do you do for fun? Oh, not much. What are you reading right now? Oh, I don't read. Are you going to ask me anything? Nope. For some reason, my uninteresting person also sounds like Eeyore. Here's the bottom line. Uninteresting people are lazy. They don't do interesting things. They don't think interesting thoughts. They expect you to do all the talking. They want to be entertained by the people around them. But it doesn't have to be this way. All you have to do is fight the lazy. This means stepping up your game, taking charge, and being more assertive. Here's how you can fight the lazy and bring on the interesting. Step number 1, stop doing stupid, uninteresting things. Oh wow, you watch Netflix? How interesting. Do you watch it on your iPad or computer? No, this is not interesting. If you come home every day after work and watch the same shows everyone else is watching and do the lowest common denominator of activities, then you have no chance of being interesting. Here's what lazy people do. They watch TV every day. They eat at the same restaurants over and over again. They go to the same vacation spot every year. They read the books that were assigned in high school. They spend hours checking their social media feeds. They talk about the weather. They expect other people to do all the talking. Don't stick with the default settings. Don't do what everyone else is doing. Don't watch what everyone else is watching. If you want to be interesting, you have to do interesting things. Here's how you can level up your life and dial down your laziness. Go to a restaurant you have walked or driven by 1,000,000 times before, but never tried. Create a bucket list and pledge to do one activity each month. Go to the movie theater and go to a movie that you would never normally choose. Sign up for a workout class that you have never done before. Start a learning bucket list and learn one new skill. Say yes to one new thing each day. Start a quest to accomplish a big goal. You can do it! Step number 2, stop asking about stupid, uninteresting things. Being interesting is about doing interesting things, but the flip side is being interested in other people's interesting things. Lazy people bring out the uninteresting side of other people. They ask boring questions like, "What do you do?" They ask, "How are you?" and don't really mean it. They talk about the weather. They ask what TV shows people are watching. What's the point of asking boring questions? You don't learn anything and you make the person you're with even less interesting to you. Here's how you can level up your life and dial down your laziness. Ask someone about the weirdest thing they have ever eaten. Ask someone what's on their bucket list and if you can help them accomplish any of it. Ask someone about the movie that most changed their life. Ask someone about a new skill they are learning. Ask someone about their personal passion project. Ask someone what their New Year's resolutions were this year and if they accomplished them. Be an interesting hunter and find out everything interesting about the person you're with. This has the best added bonus of making you more interesting. Step 3. Consume interesting things. We consume all day long. We consume food and drink. We consume media. We consume information. What you consume makes up who you are. Lazy people are uninteresting because they consume uninteresting things. They read news from the default browser homepage. They get updates from their friends' social media feeds instead of actually talking to them. They eat fake food from vending machines or freezers. They consume media and don't question the source. They read from sources that already confirm their beliefs. They only watch blockbuster movies. They only read bestsellers. Yes, it's easier to stick with the default. It's easier to eat what's given to you. It's easier to read and watch what everyone else is reading and watching. But who said easy was fun? It certainly isn't interesting. Try this. Go to the library. Yes, really. And ask the librarian for his or her most interesting book recommendations. Ask your role model for a movie that changed his or her life and go watch it. Read a news source that is known for being the opposite of your political views and see what you learn. Find a new favorite news columnist. Read books that stimulate fascinating conversations. Decide right here, right now, that you are going to be a consumer of interesting. Hey-oh, it looks good on you. Step number 4, ask people about the interesting things they are consuming. It's hard to network, make memorable conversation, and build connection, but you can do it. You just have to fight the laziness. One of the easiest ways to stimulate interesting conversation is to ask people about what they think, how they think, what intrigues them, what they're learning, how they learn. Decide to become an interesting detective. Decide that you're going to uncover every interesting tidbit about every person you meet. If you expect people to be interesting, they often rise to your expectations. Step number 5, hang out with interesting people. The final step to finding your inner interesting is to find interesting people to hang out with. Typically, interesting people hang out together, and now that's you. Interesting people encourage the people around them to do interesting things, to talk about interesting topics, and engage with interesting ideas. Let's quickly take stock. Who is the most interesting person you know? Who is the funniest person you know? Who is the most well-read person you know? Who is the most well-traveled person you know? Who is the strangest person you know? Thought of someone for each prompt? Good. Now go hang out with them. Make plans with them. Text them for an update. They are your interesting tribe. Even doing one of the things in this video will help you harness your inner interesting. Being interesting is about living a life that's worth talking about. Here's the bottom line. If you want to be interesting, put some work into it. Remember, laziness is the enemy of interesting. You are interesting. Now go get it. You know what's really interesting? Liking interesting videos like this one. Give us a sign of your interest by liking this interesting video. We are super interested in you. Thanks for all your interest.